Hello everybody, it's VG Time back again with another profile, and this time we are looking at the Green Gotenks leader from set 11. This is another leader I was very excited about receiving this set. As you may or may not know, I did a Green Gotenks deck profile when the anniversary box was released and they got that support. And I mentioned there that the only thing that was kind of holding the deck back was the leader. But I made it work out pretty well. Had a very strong win-loss record in my play group because of the aggressive nature of it. The deck changes considerably once you go to this leader, and I just want to get through this deck profile and show you why I made my card decisions. Now, just like I've been doing recently, if you just want to see the entire deck laid out, just go to the end of the video and you will see the whole thing laid out. You can pause it there and do with that information as you wish. I won't be mad at you. So anyway, Gotenks. What does this leader do? Like most leaders, when you attack with it, you draw a card. And then he has a dual awakening condition. And in his case, it's similar to the Topo from the expansion set, where you're either at 4 or less life, or you have a green Unison with a specified cost of 2 in play, you get to awaken. In the case that you are above 6 life, you have to go down to 6 life when you awaken, but that life goes to your hand, so you're perfectly fine with that. On the backside, he becomes Gotenks Extravagant Assault. This version of the leader has a permanent that prevents your opponent's leader from attacking your battle cards, and that's going to be important once we get a little bit further into this profile. Of course, when it swings, it draws a card, and has an activate main once per turn where you can pay a green, either remove a counter from opposing Unison or pitch a card from your hand to put 2 15Ks into play. And those 15Ks are the ghost tokens, just so I specify that. They do come into play in rest mode, so it's not like it's super spammy, but again, your opponent can attack into them with their leader, so that helps to protect them a little bit. And so that's the leader. As you can see, it's pretty cool. Has the ability to help remove Unisons and stuff like that. Speaking of Unisons, our primary Unison for the deck is 4 copies of SS3 Vegito Peerless Warrior. This guy right here has an auto once per turn that when you activate a Union skill, you get to draw a card. That helps you recover from the card loss from Union Fusion. And then it has a +2 and a -7. The +2 allows you to choose all your green battle cards and give them revenge. So that's why it's important for the leader's permanent effect, preventing your opponent leader from being able to attack your battle cards. So that way you could feel kind of safe attacking with your battle cards, and knowing that if your opponent does use their battle cards to attack back into them, they are creating trades. The -7 is game winning. And that's the ability to look at your opponent's life, choose 1 card from it, and put it in a drop area. And then they shuffle their life, and then at the end of that, they discard 3 cards from their hand. So being able to look at your opponent's life and choose a card and get rid of it, not only could it just kill them if they're at 1, of course, that's the easy part. But the real thing is that you get to see what cards they will get if you hit them, which is very vital information. So if you already have them down to a low total cards in hand because they're defending themselves and whatnot, if you could get rid of that extra super combo or that extra negate, you know that you don't have to worry about it coming up. Now, because I am not that good of a player, I do run additional Unisons. So I am running 2 copies Frieza Zeno Darkness Overflowing. This guy right here, besides just being a backup to the Vegito, actually has synergy with the deck. So the first thing is that it has a +1 to cycle a card out your hand. That will come up. The reason why that will come up is because you're trying to get to particular pieces to do your Union Fusioning. So if you happen to have like an extra negate or something, you kind of want to just get rid of it. But the main synergy is in the -1, which allows you to remove a counter from the opposing unison, as well as to pop a battle card with cost 4 or less. So that makes it the second best turn 2 play you could do if you're going second against an opponent's unison. Because then on the turn that they play their unison and it comes back to you, you get to play him, awaken, untap 1, draw 1, get cards, whatever. Then you could swing with the unison, swing with the leader, and then either pay green to remove the last counter, or if they also have a +2 unison, pay green, remove a counter, then -1 and remove the last counter and get rid of their unison. So overall, a good card. Next up, we're going to look at the Gotenks that we are playing, because it is a Gotenks deck. And the primary Gotenks we play is the Gotenks Grim Reaper of Justice. This guy right here is, of course, from the Anniversary box. He is a very powerful card. He has Deflect and Dual Attack, so that's a 25k Deflect Dual Attack. And he is only 2 energy because you get to make him by Union Fusion for only 2 energy. When he comes into play, he draws you 2 cards, so he refunds you the 2 cards you used to make him, and he gets to KO one of your opponent's battle cards. Now, sometimes that part gets wasted early in the game. They don't really have anything on the table that you're trying to do that with, but it still is amazing. You just play him, refund his cost, and you get in there. Now, what is also cool about him is that if he is KO'd, or actually just removed from the battlefield in general, you get to get back a Goten and Trunks from the drop area to further fusion. So the further fusion, you're going to make another copy of him, or you can make one of these guys, which is SS Gotenks Friendship Fusion. Now, this guy is unique, so you can't have more than one of them on the table, unlike the Grim Reaper of Justice. But he does have critical, and he's able to be made for 1 energy. He's also very resilient because he has the ability to pitch a card from your hand to keep him from getting removed from the battle area. The main reason why this guy is there, and the reason that he is very good if you're going second when you make him on your turn 1, is this card right here, which is the SR from the set. This guy right here has Deflect and Double Strike 30k, and he EX evolves on top of 6 cost Gotenks. So you don't really want to EX evolve him on top of the Grim Reaper of Justice. That card is a little bit too good. So you want to EX evolve him on top of this guy. When he comes into play, he has an auto that allows him to remove 2 counters from a unison, as well as pop one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier. So he is the best turn 2 play if your opponent is playing a unison deck, because you could then just make him and guarantee that you're at least stripping 4 counters off their unison. So next up, we have the material. This guy right here is Sun Goten and Trunks Faultless Youth. This is from the Anniversary box. Very powerful card. Allows you to, because they count as both Sun Goten and Trunks, gives you a little flexibility in what you have to grab. If they were one or the other, then it makes it so you have to run a whole lot of copies of these cards. You still need 2 cards to fusion, so it doesn't count like you can't just use one of them, but it's still a great card. Also has the ability to play itself for 1 energy by critting a life, but you don't really use that ability too often. And then it has the ability to get bounced back to your hand as an activate main to search the top 5 for either a Gotenks or 2 cost Unison. So that is an amazing ability, and we do use that ability. So how do we use that ability if we're not going to crit ourselves a life to play them? Well, that's where this card comes into play, Sun Goten Bonds of Friendship. So both the Goten and Trunks in this set has a cool activate main where you could pay green, pitch it from your hand, and either add the opposite one to your hand or put it directly into play. So in this case, if you have this in your hand, you want to pitch it, put him into play. If you go in first, cool, you bounce it back to your hand, you search for the Unison, and hopefully you get it. If you're going second, you could swing with him, then bounce him, and search for the Unison and add it to your hand. But that's the primary reason why he's there. Other than that, he's there as a name to be used for fusion. And then we have the Trunks, Bonds of Friendship. We play this guy at 4 because of his auto, but he has the same activate main as the Sun Goten, but his auto is when he's used as a fusion, you are able to search the top 7 for the 2-drop Unison. So he has a 2-card deeper search, which gives it a little bit more consistency. Now, another consistency card, and probably one of my favorite cards in the deck, we play 4 copies of Goku. This right here is probably our best turn 1 play. You play Goku. Goku searches directly for this guy or this guy and adds it to your hand. And then on turn 2, you could KO him, pay a green, and reveal one of them from your hand and search the pieces directly from the deck and add it to your hand. So he's just a very powerful card. He plushes you pretty hard. I just think that he is completely worth the 4 copies. Now, utilities, we have 4 copies of Defending Father Paragus. This is my super combo of choice in this particular build. It's not quite as breakneck aggro as the red-green version. So you're not really trying to abuse Nappa in this, even though he is a perfectly fine super combo for this deck, and I would not frown if he decided to do that. I do believe that he is strictly better than Great Saiyaman in almost all respects, because the Great Saiyaman is not always 10k like Paragus is, and he also requires you to have at least another card in your hand, while Paragus does not. Might as well do this now. Our ultimate is the Mass Saiyan ultimate. Main reason for this is because I like the utility of this guy, but also I do not own a Cell Xeno. So I'm not going to sit there and proxy one or fake the funk. This guy right here, though, does a lot for the deck. One, it removes barrier threats just like he does, but he does it during the battle step, which is very powerful because then it gets your opponent slipping. The other thing is that he does only cost 5 energy. He's a 40k triple strike dual attack, so he's not a terrible card. Now, because we are playing the specified 2-cost Unisons, we are playing 4 copies of Sun Gohan Potential Unlocked. He is a free blocker if you have the Unison out there, but he is unique. He's extremely powerful with the SS Vegito Peerless Warrior because he allows, this guy gives him revenge, and then you have a revenge blocker that your opponent has to worry about. Continuing on with the Unison support, we are playing 4 copies of Frieza Charismatic Villain. That kind of goes without saying. And then lastly, we get into our extra cards, and this is kind of the most all over the place portion of the deck. But I am playing 2 copies of Boo Boo Volleyball. I just think this card is really, really strong because of the math behind it. So let's say you had a dead card in your hand in a Boo Boo Volleyball. You could negate, pitch the dead card, and get back Goten and the Trunks from your drop area back to your hand. So it effectively replaces itself and the card you pitch for 10k combo power, which to me just seems pretty ridiculous. So that's why I'm giving it a try. We are also playing 2 copies of Shocking Death Ball. The Sparking Negate in particular is very strong against opposing aggro decks, especially wide board states, and is also good to mitigate things like double, triple strike, and critical. And then lastly, 2 copies of Dormant Potential. This card is quite expensive right now, but I think it is a pretty strong card, especially against wide boards, like I mentioned before. And wide boards doesn't necessarily mean a bunch of battle cards anymore. Wide boards could be a couple of battle cards, a Unison, and a leader. So if you catch them where they swung with like their battle card first or their leader first, you could kind of starve them out of their subsequent attacks. So that is the entire deck right there. I believe it's pretty close to optimum. Besides, like I said, this could easily be Cell Xeno if you have it. There's also a promo that I am interested in a tournament pack. So as soon as I'm able to get my hands on it, I will pick it up. And I might have to tweak some ratios, maybe like trim one of these or something like that to fit it in there. But it's a 3-costed Gotenks. And this guy right here can evolve on top of 3-cost Gotenks as well. And that Gotenks also could be made for 1 energy similar to this guy. So it just gives you more options to play this guy on to rip apart your opponent's Unison. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and this is VG Time signing out.